Hi guys and welcome to FFTV High Press. As promised, Sarah Clapson has very kindly put some time aside to come and join us tonight and talk about herself and her journey with Nottingham Forest. Hope you're all doing well and let's get into this. Hi Sarah, how are you doing? It's good to see
Hello,
you.
good. Good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. I know you're a little under the weather, so I do appreciate you taking the time out. Hopefully you're feeling a bit better now.
Yes, no, much better, thank you. Still a bit sniffly, so apologies for that. And apologies for my Wi-Fi, it's pretty bad.
It's okay. We can cope. We can cope. I'm sure the result on Saturday, has helped make you feel just that little bit better going forward.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant on Saturday.
How did you find the atmosphere? The atmosphere was obviously fantastic, but did you feel it was one of the hottest atmospheres of the season so far? Because the
Oh,
West Ham one was great as well, wasn't it?
yeah, it was absolutely incredible. It reminded me a lot of the playoff semi-final against Sheffield United. It was that good. It was just amazing. The last few minutes or so after the equaliser, it was just incredible. The noise was it was sensational. Gives you goosebumps. Nights days like that are just phenomenal. It was something special. It really was, and hopefully there's a few more special ones still like that to come.
Plenty more, hopefully, plenty more. Did you feel, because I started to get that feeling after Haaland missed those guillotine chances, that it might just be our day? Did we start to sense that feeling as well around that time?
Yeah, I think it kind of grew, didn't it, when Navas pulled off some of those saves, some of the
Yeah.
defending, and yeah, the chances that were missed. You kind of thought it's still 1-0, still a chance. Applauded off at half time. There's still something there. I'll be honest, I still wasn't convinced that an equaliser was going to come. But then once it did, I thought, well, they might go on and win this because they had the wind in the sails, momentum,
Yeah.
and like I say, the crowd and the noise and everything. It was just, yeah, it was brilliant. What a day! Absolutely
It was.
brilliant.
I'm just getting goosebumps just remembering it now. Honestly, it's it's
Yeah.
crazy to see it. But yeah, thank you so much for joining. I mean, we're going to get into all the football talk, of course, in a second. I just want to quickly say hi to some of the guys in the chat as they're piling in. We've already got like nearly 70 in here. Phil, good to see you. Phil says hi. Looking forward to Sarah's views and observations as we go through the night. We got Jatinia in here as well. Nottingham now and then, the legend. He's a bit busy, but he says he'll be watching later. Martin as well, a regular with us. Evening all, really looking forward to this. Me too. I'm really looking forward to having a good chat with Sarah. We got our very own FFTV and in there. Hope you're well. We are doing fantastic. There's so many coming in. Guys, I've put open a Q&A, so get your questions into the Q&A and we'll pull out some of the good ones and ask Sarah towards the end of the show. So Sarah, I guess really I want to start, not so much at the beginning, because I'll be honest with you, we're
It's a good
red
place to
here, yeah.
start.
But really, can you tell us a bit about the background and how you got started when it came into reporting about Nottingham Forest and how that journey began? Because I think it's something we all want to know, really.
Sure. Yeah, I started at the Post in 2014, so nearly 10 years ago, well, 9 years ago. So it's been a fairly long time. Before that, I was at the Scunthorpe Telegraph, so I covered Scunthorpe, who have gone in completely the opposite direction now. When I was covering them, they were in the Championship. Obviously, that's gone completely the opposite way.
How long were you
When
there
I first
for?
started at the Post,
I've got one of my close mates from there, and it's
okay,
not it's not exactly the nicest part of England, is it? But
yeah.
Steel City, yeah.
Yeah, it's completely different now, completely different, and it's real sad. The football club is such same as a lot of places, a big part of the town, and to see it how it is a real shame. But yeah, when I first started at the Post, I did Mansfield, so
Yeah.
I covered them for a season, I think, season and a half, and then I started covering Forest in 2015, I think. Yeah, about 2015. So even seen a lot of changes in that amount of time. It's
Plenty of
completely different
managers
now.
as well.
Exactly. Yeah, plenty of managers, plenty of players, and yeah, a promotion, which is incredible. Never thought that would happen back then. So yeah, absolutely thrilled at how it's gone.
And then really, so since 2015, it's been quite solid, focusing on Forest from that
Yeah.
period.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we've kind of changed our sports desk has obviously changed a lot in that time. Paul Taylor, who's now at the Athletic, I
Yeah.
used to work alongside him,
Yeah.
and obviously when he left, I became the main Forest reporter. So really, since 2019, I've been doing it as the main Forest reporter for the Post.
Yeah, fantastic. So, really, what I would really like to know is what has changed from the Championship to Premier League, both in terms of what you see as a correspondent in there has, because I remember when Steve Cooper did his first interview this season. And they asked him, he said, well, the thing that just stuck in my mind, he said, there's a lot more of you guys here now than there was this time last year. Is that something you've noticed from your side as well? Is there a lot more buzz around what's happening in the ground?
It's completely different. And he's right. It is. You sometimes have to fight for a seat sometimes in press conferences because there's so much more interest. The spotlight in terms of being on the Premier League is just, it's something else. It's just changed completely, really. So much more interest, so much more focus. Obviously, Forest is talked about on all the chat shows and on Match of the Day, and
Yeah.
everybody's got an opinion now, and everybody wants to have a piece and get involved, and it's just completely different. And
Is there a bit of a pecking order at all? Because there's always Sky and BBC and stuff that come in. Is there a prioritization when it comes to things like that, or is there a set routine with that?
yeah, so in press conferences, generally pre-match ones, there'll be a broadcast section, which is the likes of Sky and BBC sometimes, and the Premier League bring their own people.
Yeah.
And then there'll be a written section, which is what I'm part of. So you can listen
Yeah.
in on the broadcast section, and then we have a separate section for all the written journalists to ask
Yeah.
questions. So it's very good. It's all very fair, and everybody gets a chance to ask a question, to be involved. It's really good, and Steve's brilliant. He's brilliant with the press. So it's in that sense, nothing's changed. But
Yeah.
just in terms of the spotlight, it's completely different.
Yeah. And how long did these press conferences last for? Because obviously we see the snippets of it or whatever it is. It's about, sometimes it's 15 minutes, sometimes it's 20. But how does that process work? Like, what time would you get in there, and what time would you end up leaving? And I'm sure you've got deadlines that you got to get stuff out for, because there's always the embargo, isn't there, on the press conferences?
Right. Yeah. So generally the press conferences last, on average, I'd say about half an hour or so.
Mm-hmm.
So the broadcast ones do this, which maybe 15 minutes or so, and then maybe another 15 minutes for written media. So they're pretty long. It's a long time for a manager to be talking and to be answering questions, but credit to him, he answers every single one, and he's really good. And then obviously you have things to type up afterwards. So they are long days, but they're so interesting. It's great when you have a manager that speaks really well and really engages and wants to make a point and wants to get messages across to fans, because that's what it's about. We're putting messages from the manager to the supporters. He's getting his point across at times, and he speaks so well, really, really well. I hope that comes across in his press conferences, because he certainly does when we're there and we're listening to him. He's so interesting to talk to.
I think as well, what I like about what he does in the press conference is he's addressing a lot of the journalists by their first name. So there almost feels like there's a relationship there. It's quite polite, isn't it, that someone's taken the time to know your name, etc. And I'm sure there's a swarm of people there as well.
Yeah, definitely. No, he I would say he knows pretty much everybody's name. He's really good, and he'll engage really well. He's just how he comes across, really so friendly, so down to earth, pretty honest, just a really nice guy. And it's just what you see is what you get, I think, with him.
Fantastic. And then obviously you have your deadlines after that. So is there a set time where you've got to get yours written in, and then it's obviously going to go into the editors, etc.? Or can that be quite loose, or is that quite a stressful time of the day for you?
It's stressful because there's so much to write.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, because we work in terms of putting stuff up online, there's no set deadline for that, really. Obviously we have deadlines deadlines for the paper, but in terms of getting content up online, it's pretty flexible and pretty easy. So it's just trying to get it all out there as soon as the press conferences is finished. And it's busy but good. They're hectic days, but really good ones. I really enjoy going to those press conferences and hearing what the manager and the players as well. We get to speak to some of the players as well, and there's so many great characters in the squad at the minute. Really enjoy talking to them. Gustavo Scarpa is one of the most interesting people I've ever interviewed.
Love him.
He's absolutely brilliant. I could sit and talk to him all day, and probably still have questions to ask him because he's such a character. But there's so many like that. They're all great to talk to, all great guys, and particularly some of the newer signings. They've got good backstories, really interesting backstories, like Danilo and Felipe and Scarpa, and it's great to find out all about that.
Yeah. Can I ask you about Scott? Because I love him. I think personality-wise, it shines across there. It's, he's always got a smile on his face. The way he just came into Nottingham skateboarding away, and I'm desperate for him to get himself regularly in the first team. But do you think he's had an influence over those around him? Like, I pick Renan Lodi as the main example because he was taking a while to settle in. He came in. I don't know if you've spoken to Lodi yourself because he didn't have much English when he first came, but he looks like he's vastly improving at the moment. And do you think Scarpa's been a bit of an assistant to him in terms of settling him in?
Yeah, I think so. I think having that Brazilian contingent is really helpful in general. With obviously Felipe knows Lodi as well. Danilo and Scarpa knew each other, and they all seem to get on. But I know when we spoke to Scarpa, he was really keen to say that he didn't just want to be part of the Brazilian group. He wanted to get to know English culture, the English players. He really wants to develop he's great. His English is great anyway. It's really, really good. But he wants to get better, and he wants to experience a different side of things. And he's really just keen to throw himself in. But I think it can definitely help in terms of players like Lodi and Felipe coming in, that there are players there who they know, who speak the same language, who can help them adapt. I know there's, for Danilo, for instance, Scarpa acts as a little bit of a go-between between the manager and him, and tells him some of the instructions and helps with the translation, and just helps him settle in, I guess. I think that can make a big difference. Sometimes I think we forget that they're human beings, and if you move to a different country or even a different city, you still have to settle in. You still have to get to know everybody and feel at home, adjust, and they're exactly the same.
Find the local Tesco's and all that.
Exactly. Yeah, find what food you like, everything like that. So there's a human side of it as well as a football side, and if you've got the human side right, then the football side follows, I think.
Absolutely. Just want to take a second to thank Nottingham Now and Then for donating £10 to the channel. Thank you so much, buddy. I do appreciate it. And we've got over 120 people in here. I hope you guys are enjoying what Sarah's telling us, giving us the inside track into Nottingham Forest. It's just putting a smile on my face just imagining, the players there interacting and how they're getting on. I think as fans, that's something we really want to hear about, because we see them, 90 minutes. On a weekend, and it's all the stuff that's going on behind the scenes that we just would love to get on. Some things do frustrate us. I'm speaking from my point of view in terms of things like injuries and injury updates and the amount of injuries we've got currently. And that's been a frustration for us as fans. Is that something you guys are allowed to ask them in the press conferences at all, or is it something that's when asked and answered, you have to move on to the next question?
No, we generally always ask about injuries. Pretty much every week, I think Steve Cooper's asked about, because there's been so many.
There's been a new one every week, hasn't there?
Exactly, yeah. I mean, there'll be another one on Thursday, I think we speak to him. So we'll ask about Aurier then, for instance, and see how he is. But he doesn't always give a lot away.
No.
But I'm sure he's entitled to do that. Managers are entitled to say how much or how little they like about injuries, and I'm sure there's thought behind it. But he'll always answer, and he always provides some kind of information about it. It's just that there's a long list at the moment.
You could put out a whole team, couldn't you, with the injuries
exactly.
we've got?
Yeah. Just when you think it's getting a little bit better, another one comes along.
Another one comes along. But you know,
So frustrating.
if you want to spin it on a positive, imagine what we may be like once all these players are up and fit. You know, if it ever happens.
Yeah, exactly. It's encouraging but frustrating at the same time when you think
Absolutely.
about the players that are out. But hopefully it does get better. Really looking forward to seeing Karte when he gets back.
I can't wait. Yeah.
Really excited to see what he can bring. Hopefully, touch wood, it's not long, because I think he can be really good.
Yeah, he's back training, isn't he? Non-contact from the last we heard. And I think
Yeah,
that one has frustrated the fans a lot because we saw the whole thing where he went away with Senegal during the friendlies back in October, wasn't it? I think he went and then he was sent back after the second match, and we were getting hyped up as a fan base about it that, you know, he was nearly fit, and then I think the last update we saw from him was just before Christmas. He said he'll be back in 2023, and it's like I can't wait to see him back on the pitch. I think he's going to bring us such strength and such pace in that
yeah,
defensive line.
yeah. I think so. It's frustrating for him and for the manager as well. He's just been really unfortunate with his setbacks and just having to be patient, I guess. But hopefully soon. Really hope
Is he
so.
someone you've spoken to at all, Niakate?
No, we haven't had a chance yet. Largely because he's been out injured for the vast
Mm.
majority of the season. But hopefully when he's back, we get a chance to, because I think he'll be really interesting to talk to.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of the summer signings that came in, I think another thing that I want to touch on is about the summer transfer window itself. In all my years of supporting Forest, never did I think we would be spending money like that, but it almost felt like there was a new player coming in every other day, and it was fantastic because I loved it. It was one of the most enjoyable summer windows we ever had because, you know, when we went into the end of the season, my expectations were maybe we can snap up Ghana, maybe we can get, you know, maybe Zinc, even though I'm not fully convinced he'd be Premier League, you know, that kind of level, and Keenan
Yeah.
Davis, you know, let's turn these loanees into full signings. We'll spend 20, maybe 30 million, and then bang, Niakate comes in for around 12, Nico Williams for 17, and it was like it was just getting more and more fun. How was it from your perspective though, sitting on the other side, and how does it work? Is it something where you're potentially getting information from maybe leads and sources that are pointing in that direction, or are you really questioning the club when you're sitting in front of them? How does it work from your side of things?
Yeah, so the summer was crazy, absolutely crazy, because it was pretty much a new signing every week
Yeah.
and new names cropping up every week. It was just, I've never known a transfer window like it. Before it started, I thought there'd be quite a few. I was expecting it to be a big summer and a busy
Mm.
summer, but
Yeah.
I didn't think it would be that many. Bless him, every time we talked to the manager, then there was a different question to put to him about it, and I think nearly every time he said, "Oh, you're talking about it through gritted teeth," almost, I think was his words, because it became a big thing, didn't it? Forest have made so many signings. Oh, they've
Yeah.
made another one. They've made another one. They've made another one, and yeah, it was just crackers. Trying to keep on top of it and trying to follow up which leads were going to lean to something or which were just rumours was yeah, it was busy, but it was enjoyable. I think
Yeah.
it was exciting.
Yeah.
To the kind of names that were coming in as well. Jesse Lingard, he was one that he was really high profile and also really interested to see how he does or how he did, because he was somebody that captured the imagination and got a lot of headlines for various different reasons.
When
So there
did
was a
you
lot of
first
excitement
start to
about it.
hear about Jesse? If we look at Jesse as an example, because there was a lot of talk about him going back to West Ham. There was some talk about MLS and things, and Forest weren't ever really put into the equation until a week or so, if I remember that far back before it. But was it something you were getting wind of at all prior to it kind of breaking out?
Yeah, so I mean, there was certainly whispers, and
Yeah,
it was something that I know Jesse's come out and said himself that Forest made him feel wanted. They made him feel loved. The manager and the owners really took the time to show him affection, show him they wanted him, made him feel like he was going to be part of the club and really chased him. I think when you have that as a player and you can see that somebody really wants you and really wants you to be part of the club, then that's got to mean a lot. And it certainly did to him. And he had options, clearly, but I think the fact that he chose Forest says a lot. I hope he's fit for the weekend. I'm sure he's hoping he's fit for the weekend. If he's going to be involved, I'm sure he's desperate to play on Saturday.
Would you risk him on Saturday? Do you think you would chuck him straight in from what you've seen of him? I'm still not convinced of him on the pitch, if I'm being honest. I think Morgan Gibbs-White is still my number one. But, Jesse can play out on the left, which is a position we're struggling in.
Yeah.
But would you risk him fitness-wise from your point of view?
I think I would probably have him on the bench because he has been struggling. He's obviously had this knee problem and his Achilles problem. So you don't want to take any gamble. You don't want to risk it getting him making anything even worse. I'd definitely have him on the bench if he's fit, though, because I'm sure he'd be chomping at the bit to come on and make something happen or score. And I still think there's a lot more to come from him. It's a real shame that once he'd got going, he had those injuries and they kind of stopped him in his tracks because he'd really started to find his form. And
around the cup match against Spurs, wasn't it?
Yeah, that first goal was a massive turning point for him. He's a real confidence player. And once he's got that and once he's, found his flow, I think he was just going to keep going, but injuries unfortunately stopped him. I hope he can find his form again because he can be a really big player. I know that Morgan Gibbs-White is just incredible.
Sensational.
Exactly. Yeah. He's just fantastic. But we've seen before Gibbs-White, Johnson, Lingard can play in the same team. Lingard can play a few different roles. Even Morgan Gibbs-White and Brennan Johnson can play in different roles. So I think you can find a way of fitting them all in. But it's nice also to have those options on the bench. Strong benches are massive in the Premier League.
Especially in the Premier League. Well, with our injuries, definitely.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Can I ask you about Morgan Gibbs-White? He's one of my, he's right there with me in the heart. I love him to bits. He was one that was on, off, all summer. We, as a fan base, we wanted him, we saw what he did to us last season plenty of times. And I was always impressed with him. And he's a player of the profile that everyone knows that Cooper likes working with that style of player. They've had their relationship when in the England setup. And it was on and off and on and off. But there was talks about Houssam Aouar coming around that time, and that deal was getting quite close. And then suddenly overnight, it was like Forest have signed MGW. And it was like, really? And then obviously the whole thing came out with his price. Again, from your perspective, like, how do you get to what you're going to start saying in the paper about his quoted price? Because we were hearing 20 mil, then we were hearing 45 mil, then we're hearing things like add-ons if he plays for England, if he gets X amount of goals, Y amount of goals, if the sun sets in the east and rises in the west kind of thing. How do you go about piecing all that stuff together? And how did you feel when that news broke as well on MGW?
I think it was exciting. He's a really exciting player. And yeah, there's different price tags floating around, but I know it doesn't seem to be affecting him. The manager's been asked about it quite a lot and kind of said it's not something that he thinks about. It's not something that Morgan Gibbs-White thinks about. He's just getting on with it. He just doesn't seem to carry that weight. I think when you compare maybe to when João Carvalho came in and he was a record signing and he had that big price tag.
Yeah.
And I think it weighed on him a little bit. He maybe didn't always show it, but there was so much expectation around him and so much noise and everybody wanted him to do really well. And he didn't always maybe deal with it in the same way that Morgan Gibbs-White does. He just brushes it off and shows what he can do on the pitch and lets that do his talking. It's interesting to see how how different players cope with things like that. But yeah, I think it's proven a bargain, isn't it? I know it's still a fair amount of money, but it for what he's brought so far and the potential and how far he can go, it's an absolute bargain. It really is. He's just going to get even better.
Yeah, and the thing, like, I've got obviously plenty of mates who are not Forest fans, and they're like 45 mil for Morgan Gibbs-White. I said to all of them, I hope he costs us 45 mil, because if those add-ons are being, um, activated
Mm.
by those kind of criteria, then why would I not want him to cost us that much? And that's,
Yeah,
people were looking at it the wrong way around, in my opinion. I don't think anyone really knows what the actual figure is, but if it is to be 42 or 45 or whatever it is, that means we've, achieved certain things in the season, and it's a plus sign for us.
exactly. Yeah, I mean, there's the base fee, but then there's the add-ons.
Yeah,
And you're right, if he achieves those add-ons, it's great. It means he's going in the right direction, and it means the club's going in the right direction.
absolutely.
I, I think it's really good business, and he's so good. He's absolutely fantastic to watch. And when you think how young he is, how much potential he's got, working with Steve Cooper, the link up with Brennan Johnson as well has just
That's
gone
clicking
from
now. Yeah,
strength to strength. The
yeah,
two of them together are just fantastic. And you think, well, this is their first season
yeah.
playing regularly at this level. For Brennan in particular, you remember that only a couple of years ago he was playing for
Lincoln.
Lincoln.
Yeah,
Last year was his first year really at Forest, holding down a place in the side, making himself heard in the Championship. And then to make that level up, that step up, he's doing so well. And they're just going to get better.
absolutely. I mean, the chat are absolutely loving MGW. Sarah saying MGW worth every penny. Tricky Mickey saying we all love MGW. It's loads in there. They absolutely. Tony saying he's worth 80 million now, and I think that we do laugh at that, but potentially if he
Yeah.
carries on in the development and the way he's going, then I mean, if Grealish is worth 100, I know which player I'd rather have. So
Oh,
it's
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. I hope that we never have to find out how much he's worth, because
No,
you'd like
yeah,
to think that he's here for a long, long time. But
exactly. Yeah,
yeah,
because you
it's
do
bargain.
sense it, don't you? That Cooper's looking to build the nucleus of the team around the likes of Jono, around the likes of Morgan. Those younger talents, Yates as well, coming in. So there's a bit of a nucleus of youth who are showing, their worth within the Premier League. And it is exciting, but it all stems on what happens this season, doesn't it? It could all be for nothing, but we don't think like that here. We're staying up.
No,
We're staying up.
no. I think there's a real good mix at the minute in terms of experience and youth. The January window was so key in bringing experienced players in,
Mm,
like Felipe, like John Joe Shelby, Navas,
Navas.
players who've played at a really good level, who know what it takes, who can handle the pressure, who can handle these big games and the Man City kind of experiences, and they're helping the younger players as well. And there's a real good balance now, I think, in that dressing room in terms of players who've been there and done that, and players who are really exciting and who go out into those games with no fear and just want to show what they can do. And
Mm,
Danilo as well falls into that. Really excited to see what he can do.
yeah.
He's just adapting at the minute to English football and to the Premier League, to a new
And the
team.
language, yeah.
Exactly. But once he gets going, I think he's going to be something special. Really excited about him.
Yeah, we interviewed another YouTuber who's a Palmeiras channel, and he was singing Danilo's praises
Mm.
to us. He talked us through, how he played for them, how he was positionally, where his weaknesses are and his strengths. And then I remember asking him, his name's Mario. Shout out to Mario if you're watching. I said to him, if you had to keep one between Danilo and Scarpa, who would you have kept at Palmeiras? And he said Danilo, no questions asked. He said that kid is going in a direction, we can see it. So that got me very excited and hyped up over Danilo when we when we
Yeah,
got him.
yeah. I like Scarpa as well as a player. I think he
Yeah,
can be really good as well.
absolutely. I'm loving the whole Brazilian vibe we've got going on. They're talking about Cooper Cabana, aren't they?
Yeah,
Is the
yeah.
thing
I
going
wish I was
around?
witty enough to have come up with that myself, but sadly not.
Whoever did it, kudos to them.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Fantastic. Looking at that window though, and the January window, one of the questions I've got for you is: who do you think has been our best signing if we look at the summer window, and who do you think still, should we say, what's the nicest way of saying it, still has something to prove? From there, there's a lot to pick from. What was it, 23 in the summer window? I almost lost count. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think you can't look past Morgan Gibbs-White really for the summer. He's just been the standout. But everybody's played a part. I think
Mm,
even if maybe they haven't had regular starting places. Nico Williams, for example, has been in and out of the side a little bit, but he's still played a big part, and he's still somebody that has got a lot more to give, a lot of room to grow, a lot of potential. I think he can keep getting better as well. There's so many players though that have just been involved in different ways, either what they bring in the dressing room, or what they bring on the pitch, or both. Morgan Gibbs-White for me is the one that stands out, though. I think
Good choice.
I think he's just been brilliant. But again, everybody's played an important part, and when you make so many signings, it's always difficult to expect every single one to be a massive hit and every single one to have a great impact. You're always going to get a bit of a mix. But it had to be such a big window. It had to involve so many players coming in. And I mean, we've seen already with the injuries, and you need that strength in depth. And that's what Forest have got now.
Yeah. I mean, it's even like, I remember when we signed Czech Kyoto in the summer, I was very skeptical over that one, especially after his first couple of games. Let's say I wasn't his biggest fan, but then he did adapt in that team. You know, I expected him to play in a more CDM position, and you were finding he was playing a bit more box to boxy on the pitch, and then he grew into that position, and then of course he got injured, you know, as things happen. I do want to ask you about Chris Wood in a second, if you don't mind, but before I do, Will Jones, thank you so much for the £10. That's £10 for the channel. He says, doing an awesome job, guys. You'll be here forever, touch wood, he says. And he's making a reference there to Chris Wood. We've got coming up to 200 people in here. Please don't forget to hit the like. And again, Sarah, thank you so much for being here. Guys, I really hope you're enjoying what Sarah's got to say. It's such a lovely insight into the life from the other side of it, if you like, rather than from what the small window we get as fans. But yeah, I just want to touch on Chris Wood, because Chris Wood has been very divisive in terms of the fan base. And, you know, I'll be straight with you. After 3 games, I was dead against him. I thought I didn't see much on the pitch from him in terms of what he's producing. And then he obviously goes and gets the final touch on that beautiful team goal. You know, if Man City had scored that, match of the day would have been very different from the way they talked about it. But what's your take been on Chris Wood as a signing? But not so much as a player. What I'm interested to ask you about is the deal itself and the way it was structured, because it was this 3-game, excuse me, 3-game and then obligation to buy. But there was talks that Chris Wood himself got almost the final say to say he wanted to go ahead with it, and then 15 million plus the 4 million loan deal. How did you see that situation?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's clear that he wanted to come. The manager said that he really wanted to be here. Same with all the players, really, that signed in January. I think he can be a solid addition. And we spoke to Steve Cooper, actually, after Saturday about him, and he was saying he's somebody that the fans are really going to like because of his application, because of his work ethic, because of what he brings. And I think, yes, he'd had those few quiet games, but it was only 3 games. It was still really early to be judging him overall. You look at Awonyi, for instance, it took him a while to get going. And since he's been out injured, he's been a big miss. Yes, Chris Wood came in, though, in the Premier League, being a really experienced player, having scored goals at this level, and you'd kind of think he would hit the ground running, but it doesn't always work like that. It can take time. And I think in those first 3 games, he didn't see a lot of the ball. Forest didn't play in a way that suited him. Saturday, we saw a completely different player, even though he was only on the pitch for, 10 minutes maybe?
Yeah.
I thought he offered more than just his goal. And if he keeps playing like that, and if he keeps having that kind of involvement and having that kind of impact, he can make a big difference. If he gets a few goals between now and May, and they prove to be crucial ones, which the one on Saturday could quite easily be, he'll have done his job. And also, don't underestimate the experience that he brings, and the know-how, and the presence that he is in the dressing room. That's something that Steve Cooper talks about a lot, about having the right characters, about having the right mix and the right blend, and players who can offer different things. You look at Jack Colback, for instance, hasn't played a lot particularly, but is so influential in the dressing room. Such a big character, such a big presence, And then when he does get his opportunity, he makes the most of it.
Do you
And you
get a
need
feel for
different.
that? Sorry to interrupt. Do you get a feel for that, like who the influential characters are in the dressing room? Is that something you get to pick up on from what you see?
Yeah, I think you can tell who the big characters are. Everybody has brings their own different. You don't have to be noisy, or you don't have to be loud, or you don't have to. There's different ways, I think, of showing or having an influence in the dressing room. You don't necessarily have to be the loudest character. I'm pretty sure Jesse Lingard is probably that, because
Yeah.
you can see in
Him
all
and
the social
Aurier, it
media
seems, are
videos.
always dancing around with a boombox, aren't
Exactly.
they? Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, you need those kind of characters
Yeah,
as well.
absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, you can see when you are around the players, or when you listen to the manager, or when you talk to the players as well, who is a big influence, and who they all look up to in different ways. There are some really big, interesting characters there, and it's a nice blend. It really is. You can see that
Yeah.
whenever we go to the press conferences, or talk to any of them, you can see they're a nice group. And I think you get that in some of the videos that the club put up,
Yeah.
or the social media clips that Lingard puts up of them dancing, and they're just a good group, and
Yeah.
that counts for a lot. It really does.
Yeah. Do you feel that, have you noticed, should I say, the difference in the social media presence of Nottingham Forest now? There tends to be a lot more of the backstories of the players now, where I feel like they're almost trying to let us in as fans to get a feel for their personalities, and not just, that 90-minute window we see during the weekend. Is that something you feel they're actively doing and looking to push?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big part of football now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Social
Yeah.
media, and not just for clubs, but for players as well. Every player now has an Instagram, or a Twitter, or on
Yeah.
TikTok or something. So there's all these different windows and different ways of seeing a little peek behind the scenes, if you like, and seeing them as a group, or in training. I think it's great. I absolutely love it. I love the Brennan Johnson's outfit of the day videos that he started putting
Yeah, I've
up
been seeing
on
this. Yeah.
TikTok, and it's
I couldn't
great.
get away with wearing some of the stuff he wears, I'll tell
No,
you.
well, no. I mean, I'm no fashion critic, but I just like to have a little insight into what goes on.
Yeah.
It's nice to see inside the dressing room, if you like, and different behind the scenes things. Bench cam, absolutely love the bench cam, and
Yeah,
the
that's
match
cool.
day
Yeah.
passes that the club
Yeah.
do. They're great. I thought the one on Saturday was brilliant, where you could see all the players singing along
Up
to
in their
Forest
head.
Our
Yeah.
Magic, and
Yeah.
nodding away, and how they were all leaping out off their seats, and Ryan Yates running down the touchline when the goal went in. Things like that just show the kind of
It does
spirit that
make me
there is.
shudder a little. I'm like, slow down. You're meant to be injured. Don't run too fast. Don't pull another muscle. But it is really good to see that kind of cohesiveness between the team. And the likes of Talk Sport and the start of the start of the season were just taking the mick, weren't they? How's he going to get
Yeah.
all these players gelling together, etc.? So it's really good to see that coming along. Speaking of players and how well they're doing, I want to talk about a fun subject. Yeah, I think you know where we're going with this one. As we've spoken about, I do player ratings as well, so I'm probably the only sympathetic ear you have here.
I'm
But
glad somebody is.
I have promised the guys that I will ask you about this and your player ratings, and really how you come to it. You're in good company. They think I'm delusional with some of my ratings when I do them after the match, but they have asked me to ask you. So for you guys in the chat, there's the question. So Sarah, talk us through your player ratings, and then what's your criteria and judgment really, or is it a sense of what you feel?
It's a little bit of both. I think I try not to overcomplicate it, and just base it on what you see. It's an opinion. It surprises me sometimes how polarizing they are, and how everybody really, and not just fans, players as well, have an opinion on it.
Or do you get the players after you on it as well?
Oh, you'd be surprised. Yeah, players, not always, but some of them are really into player ratings, and they're
Yeah.
quite quite keen to make sure they get good ones. I try and judge it on the performance as how I see it. I think if it's a big game against a Man City or Liverpool or the
Yeah.
playoffs, for instance, and somebody puts in a really good performance, I think, well, that counts for a little bit extra, because it's who you're playing against and the whole situation, the whole context around something. So that adds a little bit more. Kind of look at past performances, I guess. So if I think somebody has played really well compared to how they have done previously, then that has an impact. Or likewise, if Serge Aurier, for instance, had been absolutely brilliant for so many games, Mr.
Yes.
Consistent, and then had a couple of wobbles,
Yeah, which he did.
which by anybody's
And it can
standards, he
happen.
was still doing okay, but
Yeah.
by he'd set the bar pretty high.
Yeah.
So that has an impact. I try to be as fair with it as I can and just give my opinion, but everybody has a different one. And I guess that's half the fun of it, really, that there's no right or wrong answer. I can think somebody played brilliantly and somebody else thinks they had an absolute stinker.
Well, they've started on you already, Sarah. Adam said here, Danilo only got 6.5. Worrell got the highest score.
I think I gave Felipe the highest score. I definitely intended to give Felipe. I'm sure I did.
If you did,
He
someone
was
will
my
tell
man of
you
the
you
match
shouldn't
on
have.
Saturday.
He was 100% man of the match. There's no debate about that for me. He's an absolute brick, and he's come in and shown all his
He was
experience.
superb. Yeah.
He is
Navas
fantastic.
ran him close. But I thought Joe Worrell actually did really well on Saturday as well. So he got a high mark. The whole defence did, because, to keep Man City to 1 goal was some going. But
Well, I think there
everybody,
was one better defender than Felipe that day. I thought our best defender on the pitch was Haaland. The way he was making those chances, it made it. Yeah, we rode our luck at times, but yeah, they were absolute warriors out there, and it was really good to see the way Steve Cooper blocked out the middle of the pitch, forced Man City wide, frustrated them, and then one shot, one kill as it was in the second half, and. Yeah, getting goosebumps remembering back to that goal. It was
yeah,
so good.
perfect game plan. Perfect game plan. I think he deserves so much credit for that, Steve Cooper, because to get the tactics right, I mean, it's such fine margins, but it paid off. And again, to get the players to buy into it as well, even at half time when you're 1-0 down, to say, look, keep going. We think,
Yeah.
we're still in with a chance. Don't give up. It just says so much about him. And
Because
it
that's
was
the tough bit,
fantastic.
isn't it? Because at 1-0 down, I called it. I was like, that's it. It's going to be 3-0 now. My head had
Yeah,
dropped. You think the
yeah,
floodgates would open. My mind
yeah,
set back to
exactly.
when I was at their stadium and it was 6. And to have, the I was going to swear there, but to have the ability to just say, stick to the plan. We've got
Yep.
this and it will come good. Whereas there could have been panic. There could have been panic
Yeah,
from other
absolutely.
managers and been like, right, let's just throw it out and
Yeah.
see what happens, So it's one of those ones. Yeah, but it was brilliant. So, yeah, so the player ratings, that's how you judge it. Guys, you now know. You now know. I will say, I'll give Sarah my support, right? You lot are too harsh, yeah? Everyone has their opinion. They're all entitled to it. As I said to Sarah
Absolutely.
earlier. Yeah, I said to Sarah earlier, one of you told me I got it spot on, and then 99 of you will tell me I was delusional. And I've seen the messages coming up in the chat. Someone said I always have my goggles on when I watch it, especially when it comes to like Morgan Gibbs-White. I'm neutral and objective. Fantastic. I want to ask a couple more questions. I want to get some of the chat's questions into, if you don't mind. You okay for another 10
Yeah, of
minutes or
course.
so? Yep,
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah, all good.
This is the fun question. Where do we finish this season?
Ooh. Do you know, I've changed my mind so much over the course of the season. If you'd asked me that probably back in August, or at
Yeah.
the start of August and the beginning of August, I'd have given a completely different answer. But
What would you have said in August? I'll put you on the
this,
spot there.
before the season started, I was really hopeful, and I really thought it was going to be a good season, and I thought that I thought it wouldn't start the best, because you have to kind of work your way in. Probably actually not trying to sound like I knew what I was talking about, but maybe go through a rough spell, but get going again, and yeah. But then when there was that patch in August where it looked
Ugly.
really ropey, yeah,
Mhm.
really ropey. I was thinking, this is this is going to be a really long season. It's going to be a lot tougher. I thought the Premier League would be tough. It's a lot tougher than what I was thinking, and I'm just watching it. So yeah, I think back then it wasn't looking great at all, but now I'm really confident.
Don't jinx us, Sarah.
I know, that's what I'm terrified of doing that. So I'm trying to say it in a roundabout way. Yeah.
We know what you're saying, yeah. Just don't say it out loud.
I know, exactly.
Not until we've beaten West Ham and Everton. Yeah. We'll have you back on, and after we've won the next two, then we can be a little more cocky and speak with, higher tone voices.
Yeah. I mean, what I would say is that it's still really, really tight. And you can have a few bad results or a few good results, and it changes so quickly. And there's so many teams still in it. There's not a lot of points in it. And teams are changing managers, and you never know what impact that's going to have. Sean Dyche going to Everton, for instance,
fantastic.
I'm pretty sure that he'll work his wonders there, and they'll be okay. Whereas a few weeks ago, I was thinking, well, they're pretty much goners, because they, not just how they were doing on the pitch, but the whole atmosphere around the club as well. They were in a really different place to the likes of Forest, who have got momentum, who the fans are all on side. There's so much unity. Everybody is together. But now I think Sean Dyche will come in and do a job for him. So it just shows how things can change quite quickly, and you can't count anything until it's all done and dusted. Yeah.
So go on, put a number on it. How many points and what position do you think it will be? We won't hold you to it, because you've got nothing to worry about.
This is worse than player ratings.
Well, before the season, I said we'd finish fourth, and they don't let me live it down in the chat. And I still say it's mathematically possible. It's still mathematically possible, So, but yeah, go on, give us, for a bit of fun, and chat. You guys do it as well. Position and points. What do you think?
I would be happy if it all comes down even to goal difference, and survive on goal difference, even that would be fine. I think anything more than staying up is a bonus. Anything above that is terrific. It is going to be tight, and I still think home form counts for a lot. Win the home games, or get points from most of the home games, and that'll go a long way to making sure things are okay. But really need a couple of points away from home as well. I think
100%.
Just picking up the odd, or a win or two. There's some really tough away games coming up. I think Saturday you've got to look at it and think,
huge.
That's a really good chance to put. Prior to the Fulham away game, I think it was 4 points from the previous 2 away ones. Southampton and I've forgotten who it was. Bournemouth.
Bournemouth, yeah.
And you thought, well, that's kind of, things are turning a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's just about getting that back. Just maybe picking up, scoring of the odd goal as well. It's just little hurdles like that to overcome can go a long way. And Saturday's a big one for that. And going into it on the back
nervous
of Man City draw. I don't think it's a nervy one. I don't.
It is when you've talking as much crap as I have to the other West Ham YouTubers. So I need Cooper and the boys to back me up on it. But it's big, isn't it? Because if we win this one, suddenly you're looking at a decent gap to West Ham. It does become that proverbial 6-pointer. And then if we can go and back that up against Everton, then I really will be feeling strong and, cocky about it a little, I guess. But fantastic. I've got a few questions I want to finish with, and they're from the guys in the chat. James Cunningham has put a fantastic question on, and I've got to ask you about this. He says, "Hi, Sarah. Has Sarah met Mr. Marinakis, and what are her thoughts on him?" As we call him here, we call him the Greek father, because he's just a legend for us. Have you met him, and have you had a chance to sit down and speak with him at all?
I have met him. I was very fortunate to go to cover Forest's winter camp in Greece during the World Cup break, and had the chance to meet him then. That was the first time I'd actually met. He was a lovely guy, really, really nice. a nice chat with him. He's got a real aura about him. You can see why he's so successful in not just in football but in business and everything else that he does. He has a real presence. When he walked into the room, you knew he was there because he just had something about him. But when you talk to him, he's very down to earth and very nice, very, very passionate about Forest, very knowledgeable about football, is desperate for Forest to do well, desperate for the club to do well. And he's shown that with the amount of support that he's given. He was... saw him on Saturday watching the game and seeing the pictures of him leaping up out of his seat and punching the air and really celebrating the goal. And he's just so passionate. And talking to the manager actually apologised on Saturday. I don't know if you've seen his press conference video.
He was late, wasn't he? Yeah.
He was late. Yeah. He was gone 6 o'clock when he came for his press conference, which is very unlike him because he's usually very prompt and he doesn't like to keep people waiting. He's so polite and so nice about it all. So he was so apologetic, and even the bits that you didn't see on camera, he was still going on afterwards saying, I'm so sorry, because that's just what it was like. But obviously we understood because he's talking to the owner.
He was with the Greek father, wasn't he? Yeah.
They were having a very positive chat, he was keen to stress, and I'm sure that Mr. Marinakis enjoyed what he saw on Saturday because it was a great result, great game. He's just put so much into the club, gives the manager so much support. I think when you go back to the speech that he made after promotion saying we'll back the manager, we'll give him all the tools that he needs, he's proved true to his word. And as an owner, that's all you can ask. He's just wants the club to do well.
Yeah,
exactly. Anytime you ask Steve Cooper about it, he will say all Mr. Marinakis wants to do is help. He just wants to support. He just wants
Does
to...
he spend a lot of his time in England? What's the split like? I don't know if you know, between here and... Because he's obviously got Olympiacos as well.
Yeah, exactly. So he spends his time between the two. And
his
obviously he has all his other businesses to juggle as well. I mean, I don't know how he does it because I couldn't cope with that amount of stuff to do all at once, but he must find more hours in the day than the rest of us because he has so much going on.
Absolutely. We love him.
He's so passionate about everything that he does. And that's why he's successful. That's why he has done great things with Olympiacos, great things in business, and hopefully more great things to come with Forest as well. Absolutely.
We've got a great question here. I think we'll round up with this one from Jordan. Guys, there's still 200 of you in here, so please make sure you hit the like and go follow. I'm sure you all are, but if you're not, please go follow Sarah on Twitter. The mods will put her link in the chat as well, so make sure you're showing Sarah some love there as well. Sarah, I don't know if you've seen the question from Jordan here.
I have, and I'm trying to rack my brains.
That's why I was buying you a little time because I saw you thinking. It's a fantastic question.
It is a good question.
What's been your personal moment of the season so far? It could be something on the pitch or maybe someone you've interviewed or something like that off the pitch.
Probably Saturday. Just everything about it. I don't know, it was only a draw, but everything about it was brilliant. The goal... I think I've watched the goal probably 20 times now already. It was that good. But the atmosphere, the City Ground, when it's in that kind of voice and that kind of everything about it, it's just incredible. It really
goosebumps.
My hairs. It does now, even now. So probably that one, I think. But there's been plenty. The Liverpool game, that was brilliant. Absolutely loved that. Again, the atmosphere then was incredible.
I can't live through those last 10 minutes again, though, against Liverpool. I think I had about 9 heart attacks and Hendo saves.
I'm terrible, absolutely terrible. I think the playoff semi-final was worse for me. Watching that one, it was just horrendous.
That one meant a lot to me as well after 2003, wasn't it, when... bloody Neil Warnock and that happened, but we only talk about the good times now. We only talk about the good
exactly.
Fantastic.
Yeah, but there's been so many great moments. I mean, not probably since Steve Cooper came in that my list has just grown because there's just been so many. If I think back to last season, just could reel off a whole string of them. So many absolutely brilliant moments, and yeah, hopefully there's more still to come.
Well, let's hope the Man City is a forgotten memory, because the ones to come are even better going ahead.
Exactly.
And what a lovely note to finish on, guys. Sarah, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to spend with us and have a chat with the guys as well. And I know you're still under the weather, so I really do
No problem.
appreciate it. Guys, please go and show Sarah some love on Twitter. Is there anywhere else that you're active on social medias or anything for the guys? I know
do have a
Twitter's
Facebook page and an Instagram page. I don't know. I'm terrible. I don't know.
Don't worry, my mods have got it all, so they'll get the
well,
links
there
up
you go.
there.
Even better than me.
Yeah, we'll get it in the description as well. So if you're watching this
Oh,
later,
thank
go
you.
click in that description and make sure that you're following Sarah on all her social media platforms. And what a lovely insight into what happens that we don't get to see as Forest fans. And it's just lovely to hear about it. And I've had goosebumps about 4 or 5 times today as we were talking about, you know, just recent memories of this season. And let's hope there's plenty more to come. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow. What is tomorrow? Wednesday? There's plenty of content still coming up on Forest Fan TV. We'll see you soon. Please do hit the like before you leave. Subscribe if you're new. And again, Sarah, thank you so much for your time.
No problem. Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it. Been brilliant. Thank you.
Cheers. All the best.